Let's start with the state of the Dallas Cowboys because everything is falling apart around the star after Dak Prescott hurts his hamstring. They make a weird trade on Tuesday to get a wide receiver who they may have been able to get off waivers, and we have an injured wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. So let's start with Dak Prescott. He's expected to go on IR after injuring his hamstring in the Week 9 loss against the Atlanta Falcons. They are 3-5 right now. CeeDee Lamb's dealing with a shoulder injury. Cooper Rush is going to be the starter, and they acquired Jonathan Mingo via trade from the Carolina Panthers. So, Robert, just give me like a broad view of the Cowboys right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. How do things look to you heading into that matchup against the Eagles? Is there anybody that you trust with Cooper Rush starting in place of Dak Prescott?
If CeeDee Lamb is going to play, I mean, you have no question but to trust him and keep him in your starting lineup if he's there, even though he's a little bit banged up. I've had that shoulder injury, that AC joint injury. It can be bothersome, especially when it comes to reaching up above your head and trying to catch a football. Nonetheless, I'd still lean on him because Cooper Rush is going to be leaning on CeeDee Lamb pretty heavily. But outside of that, it looks very meek. Rice Dowdle has done a decent job when he's been in the lineup. And if you have to, I would trust him in your starting lineup. I'd put him on the bench otherwise, though. But like you said, this is a team that's falling apart.
Yeah, I think he makes, like we saw in 2022, CeeDee Lamb is still a starting fantasy wide receiver with Cooper Rush at quarterback. Not one of the top 3 wide receivers in fantasy, but someone I'm definitely going to start if he's healthy. I'm probably still starting Jake Ferguson at tight end as well. I think he'll have enough volume, at least in a full PPR league, where he can be a top 12 guy. Rice Dowdle is a flex that I really kind of hope I have a better option. This Philadelphia defense, the other side of the equation, they've been much, much better as of late. And so I'd kind of like to stay away from Dowdle if I can.
Eagles, one of 2 teams actually not yet to allow a touchdown to a tight end. So Ferguson may not be in the best spot with a backup quarterback. Moving forward, though, are you looking to acquire Cowboys or sell off Cowboys? You trying to get CeeDee Lamb or are you trying to trade away CeeDee Lamb?
I would be more, I mean, it obviously depends on what the cost is, but I would be more likely to try to buy him. If so, I know Adam Azer was talking on the podcast this morning. He's trying to get rid of him. He's a little bit scared of CeeDee Lamb. If somebody's willing to sell him for maybe cheaper than a top 12 wide receiver, somewhere in that 12 to 18 range, I'd be okay with that. I still think he can be a top 12 guy, so if I can acquire him for a wide receiver 2 cost, I'll do it. The rest of the Cowboys, I'd pretty much like to stay away from.
Robert, when you saw the trade yesterday of Jonathan Mingo going from the Panthers to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick, what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the 4th-round pick is too high from the Cowboys standpoint. The only thing that I thought about, though, as it pertained to acquiring Jonathan Mingo is, maybe the injury to Brandon Cooks is more serious than we thought. Perhaps they're not going to re-sign Brandon Cooks, for next season. And so then Jonathan Mingo can then sort of work his way into that role for next season. Those were really my only 2 thoughts about it. From a fantasy standpoint, we'll see what kind of opportunities he gets and how quickly he can incorporate himself into this offensive system. But he has flash, all right? He's done well in fantasy, maybe not this season, but last season there were some flashes. Perhaps he can have some flashes again with Dallas this year.
Dynasty hold?
Dynasty hold. I wonder if the Cowboys were just looking for a wide receiver that had experience playing with backups. They were going to the backup quarterback. He's been playing with a lot of backups at quarterbacks. No, yeah, you can hold him, but I'm not particularly excited.
All right, so we'll see what happens moving forward. They did lock up CeeDee Lamb, so you don't have to worry about his contract status. Jalen Tolbert should be at least a part of their future moving forward, but like Robert said, it could be a replacement for Brandon Cooks heading into 2025.